Video. 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, hello. This is Ignacy from Portal Games.
And Corey Thompson from Dice Tower Now, Dice Tower Dish, and now Aboveboard TV.
And this is the podfather of gaming, Stephen Bonacore. You are listening to Board Games Insider, episode 279, which we are recording on May 24th, 2023. Board Games Insider is a proud member of the Dice Tower Network. And by the time you hear this, I'll be in Birmingham, England for the UKGE. And my only plans that I have there so far is to visit Ignacy and play a game, and to play the unreleased expansion for War of the Ring, the card game, with Roberto from Ares Games, and drink much British ale. Any of our listeners or watchers want to join me for the British ales? I'm buying, as long as you join me in mocking Tom Vassell. Gentlemen, so good to be here again with both of you this time. How are you?
Doing well. Always good to be back at the crack of dawn.
We do got to give you props for that, right, Ignacy? I mean, 6:30 a.m. Pacific time. Corey gets up, showers, I think, starts to drink some coffee, and he's on. He's on every time.
This is beyond my understanding. Like for me, when I hear my clock at 7 a.m., I'm very mad, and like 6:30, this is no.
That's absolutely my thing too. My alarm goes up at 7 o'clock every morning, and I ignore it. I shut it off, and I spend a little more time in bed, and then I get up, within the next half hour. But anyway, speaking of things in our personal lives here and stuff, Ignacy, what's going on over at Portal Games?
Yeah, so I get up every morning and I go to work.
So far, every morning I've gotten up.
We managed to release the 51st State Ultimate Edition. Thank you for presenting the game.
Which is still sitting here with me in my office.
Very good game. Great reception. Thank you for all the positive feedback. The game sells very well, so we are very happy. For those of you who have not yet grabbed a copy, friendly reminder. We put on the market the games after creating a Kickstarter or whatever game fund campaign. This is not a big print run. This is not the title that we have in stock forever. This is not the same title like Detective or Robinson Crusoe that we have in stock all the time, and we are reprinting it. The 51st State is unique. Is a difficult game. It's a complex games. We do prints once every few years. So please, don't contact me in a few months asking if you have any spare copies left. No, we will not have. So 51st State released. Go to local game store, grab a copy, and have a blast. Once again, I wrote a piece about it, but I'm so happy seeing new people discovering this game from you, because they never have a chance to play it, and now they're saying nice things about it, and I know it's all the game. I knew it's good, but now it's all these new people discovering it, and it is so nice. We also finished releasing expansions for 11. A reminder for everyone who watches Ted Lasso and is slightly interested in football, in European football. The game 11 has 5 expansions. We are releasing them for a couple of months, and now all of them are on the market. So you can go to your local game store and ask for any of the 5 expansions. And of course, for the base game, and the base game is also doing very well. Once again, thank you to Ted Lasso for support.
And I think Paula just told me that the latest episode dropped last night. I think that's what she told me as I was rushing here to get online.
Every Wednesday is coming, yeah.
Awesome.
So 11 released, all expansion for 11 released. So this is good news. We announced on Monday, 2 days ago, we announced a new expansion for Neuroshima Hex, 17th expansion. This is insane. The game was released initially in 2005 in Poland, 2007 in Spiel Essen in English, and every single year we keep creating content. So once again, for all of you who know Neuroshima Hex, who play the game, I know that you are happy. For those of you who missed this game for the past 15 years, maybe it's time to pay attention, because apparently if the game has so long run, something must be there. So this is a very unique, great tactical game. If you like tactical games, 4 armies in the box, and 17 different armies as expansions. A huge beast from Poland, one of the most popular games in Poland, and very popular outside Poland as well. We are re-releasing the army Neuroshima Hex Beasts that was released just around the COVID time, but it was very slow release due to the COVID times. So we are now doing like a relaunch of this army. So hardcore fans who were loyal to the company were able to buy this army back then during the COVID times from my website. But for all of you who are not buying from Portal Games website, the army was not available through game stores in America. So we are relaunching this army. So go to your local game store and ask for Neuroshima Hex Beasts. It's releasing June 14th, so very, very soon. And it's amazing. This is a crazy army because these beasts are not thinking too much, so they have a friendly fire. We have a very powerful units, but they attack everyone, themselves, enemy, like everyone.
Love
so
it.
this very offensive army, which is so crazy to manage to try to attack enemy, not attack your units. Lots of fun with Neuroshima Beasts. We had a couple of restock in our web store. So once again, go to portalgamesus.com, check our web store, check for all the goodies, mini expansions, promos, lots of stuff we added. We are restocking now the web store quite often. We are shipping from Poland to our American warehouse. But the most important news of this week, obviously, is if you don't want to drink beer with Steven, you can drink tea with Ignacy, because I'm coming to Birmingham as well. I'm much less fun than Steven, I know it. But I will at least have with me the box. For all of you who are watching the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel, you can now see the Imperial Miners. I'm coming with Imperial Miners. This is a early sample copy from China, from manufacturer. I have scheduled a ton of demos for press and media, and I'm going to do lots of demos all Friday, all Saturday. I'm sitting with media and playing with them this game. This game will be released in Essen. But if you grab me later during the day, and if you have a good cookies, we can play Imperial Miners as well. I'm taking bribes. So yes, find me at UK Game Expo and you can play Imperial Miners. The game will be released at Essen in a few months, but I will have one copy with me in Birmingham. I don't have a booth this year. I'm going to UK Game Expo directly to meet with the press, to have just meetings and meet with the fans. So I'll be walking around and just grab me, bring cookies, and we'll play game.
Very, very cool. I'll take bribes
awesome.
too. I'll take bribes of British ales.
But what's your offer? Because my offer is to present the game that will be released in Essen.
You give me a British ale, I give you a British ale. There we go. That's perfect.
Your offer is that they will have a fun time, okay?
That's right. I offer fun. Corey, what's going on?
Oh, well, we're continuing on with my new studio down in LA. We're still releasing videos at Aboveboard TV. We're getting really good feedback on our latest one, which is the Evil Bop It. Probably heard already, we played games while skydiving for our launch videos, and one of the games that we really played with was the original Bop It with designer Dan Klitzner. Well, we have a follow-up video on our YouTube channel now where Bop It gains sentience. And fun fact, we used the original Bop It voice actor for the video, Scott Parkin. So by the time this airs, I'll have just gotten back, I think, from KublaCon. This is the biggest convention in California, so really looking forward to seeing people over at Kubla. As we're recording this, I'm going to leave tomorrow for KublaCon. And then also coming up, I'll be at Origins. I will not be at UK Games Expo because no one paid me enough to go to UK Games Expo. It's a long flight.
No one paid me anything to be there. I'm going to have fun.
I don't know.
Fun. Bonacor brings the fun.
No, I wish I was going to UK. I haven't been before.
Never been myself.
It sounds like an amazing trip. I'm going to be heading to RageCon at the end of June. This is the Reno Area Gaming Expo up in Northern Nevada. And it'll be fantastic. I'll be with guests Ben Maddox from 5 Games for Doomsday. We'll do a podcast lecture seminar together, and Henry Audubon, the designer of Cosmoctopus and Parks, and Johnny Peck Canton, designer of Unconscious Minds. So it's we're gonna have a great time, so looking forward to that.
That sounds like a fun-filled few weeks of gaming stuff. And by the way, that Bop It video was off the hook funny. The evil Bop It. It was so good, dude.
I'm really happy with the way that came
you
out.
guys are killing it. I don't know where you're going with it all, or maybe I do a little bit, but it's going, it's pretty funny. Over here at the Podfather of Gaming, in my gaming life, we have completed the adventures of Robin Hood. And, you know, we talked about this already on the show. This is so good. I mean, you're playing a character, one of the main characters of Robin Hood, Maid Marian, Little John, and Will Scarlet. And you are running around this board where things open up on the board. They just like open up, and you encounter somebody, it opens up, it turns over, you finish the encounter. It's a co-op fantasy detective storytelling choose your own adventure game. So I can't think of any more adjectives to put into that, but it's just so good. You know, you gotta find out what's going on, and it's amazing. We now just started doing the expansion for that, Friar Tuck. Friar Tuck's in danger, and we're going through that right now. So we'll have finished this within the next week, and it's just great.
It's such a cool system. It
is. And in the same vein, Mortem by Arcane Wonders is something that we played the first adventure of. And again, this is the same kind of idea where you're co-op in a fantasy world. You're trying to figure out the storyline. So you got storytelling and choose your own adventure, all that same type of stuff. So you can see what my gaming loves are like. So Mortem, fantastic job by Arcane Wonders. Thank you, Robert, for giving this to me. He goes, you're going to love this because I know your style of games, Bonacor. And it's going to be one of those games that most people aren't going to play. It's a very dark box. It doesn't look as inviting, I think, you know, as it could look for people. But if you want a nice thinky game where you're trying to figure out in a detective manner what happened to this person, they're lost, and you're trying to find the trail, and you have to do it in a certain amount of time, and then you get scored. In this game, you get scored at the end on how well you did. And in the first adventure, which is supposed to be easier and shorter, we scored the top. We didn't score every point, but we did very well. So I was very happy with that. Thank you again, Arcane Wonders. Mortem, fantastic game. And I just got my package in the mail yesterday or the day before of Keyforge. Now, you guys know Keyforge has come back. They crowdfunded it. This is Christian Peterson, the former president of Fantasy Flight. He bought essentially Keyforge out of Asmodee Fantasy Flight, and he brought it back. And have you guys ever played? Have you ever played Keyforge? Yeah, that's great. I mean, you know what? I've only seen it played. I've never actually played it. So I got a whole bunch of decks now. So I'm really looking forward to exploring this system. I'm sure I'm not going to start collecting it the way some people did, but you know, it's a game I think that deserved to come back for its uniqueness, if nothing else. And if people don't remember, every deck in Keyforge that you buy is guaranteed to be different from any other deck. They're even named with these weird, random names.
Oh yeah, there's a digital modular printing system, which is really what Christian Peterson was purchasing when he purchased Keyforge, is this system. Although from what I've heard, he's redone and perfected the system on his own. But they print every card on the fly. Most are unique. They have modular graphics, so you can even make symbology and iconography that's completely unique. The combinations on this modular printing technology are just mind-boggling.
I can't imagine that a system like this would not leverage AI, at least ultimately. I don't know if they are now. I have had no insight into that. But if you think about it, right? If you're going to do this kind of stuff where everything is printed sort of on the fly, you can have the AI generate something and slap it on a card. I mean, it's going to be very interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but kudos to them for seeing that it should come back. Very cool. And in 2 weeks, I'm mentioning my new D&D 5e campaign. We did the epilogue for the old one, and now once I get back from the UKGE, which Alex Schmidt, the chief logistics and sales officer for for Stonemeyer Games. He's also going to be there. When we're both back, we're going to start a Ravenloft campaign in 5e, and I'm going to be playing a Dark Paladin. And that's all I will say, because I don't want them to hear this in case they do listen to it. They have to find out about where I'm coming from.
It's okay. They don't listen to your podcast.
They probably don't listen to my podcast.
They've told me.
There you go. I'll see you, everybody out there at UKGE, so please do find me. I just want to give that one more shout out. I'm so excited about being there for the first time. Now, let's get over to the event deck. So, this is a story that we're going to probably have to delay the podcast by one day to talk about, because this is embargoed till June 1st. And this would normally drop on May 31st. But I want to talk about it because I want to have this news out there on the first day that we're allowed to talk about it. And the news is that Zebs Schlosser is leaving WizKids after being there for 7 years. And Zeb is like as big a person in this industry as anybody else ever. And he put out, so I'll read a little bit of the press release, but this is specifically the decision to part ways is both mutual and amicable. So as of June 1st, Zebs Schlosser, director of board games at WizKids, will be leaving the company after 7 years. Excuse me. With the shift in WizKids' focus from catalog building to a more condensed release schedule and heavier focus on platform building, WizKids and Mr. Schlosser came to terms on a mutual and amicable parting of ways. I want to thank WizKids for an amazing run. They let me produce great games and work with an awesome team, said Zebs Schlosser. Board gaming at WizKids was transformed under Schlosser as he directed the release of numerous games over his 7-year period, including Fantasy Realms, Sidereal Confluence, Super Skill Pinball, and numerous licensed titles over the years. Mr. Schlosser has had a storied career in hobby board gaming, which spans 25 years, the bulk of which began with Z-Man Games, a company he founded, owned, and ran solely until it was acquired by Philosophia Games. Zeb will be seeking new opportunities in the game industry. As with all good campaign settings in games, I look forward to my next adventure in the hobby game industry, Mr. Schlosser concludes. So, everybody obviously knows Zeb. You guys both know him.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
one of the absolute nicest guys in the world. He's one of the oldest, not in age, but in tenure in the industry. He's younger than me, and he's just had an unbelievable career. He is one of those responsible for the amazing growth of hobby board gaming in the United States. And I'm happy to call him a friend. He mentored me early on, so I can't talk enough about this. I hope that some of the industry people out there are hearing it and they want to go talk to Zeb about potentially joining their company. So this is just great. Gentlemen?
The original Z in Z-Man. It's like you said, you can't say how much Z-Man games and those early games really contributed to the industry. And then once he was on board as the head developer essentially at WizKids, just the number of hits, you can't put in a press release how many different games Zeb was responsible for bringing into our hobby. And the most approachable, nicest guy ever. So,
absolutely.
Such a good spokesperson for the industry.
Yep. And if you think about it, go ahead.
For me, Zev, I don't know if you remember, but this is super important. He was my first publisher in America. Like, he found Ignacy in Europe in 2007, my first Jahres Spiel, and it was Zev who found this small company from Poland. He signed the Hiroshima Hex, and this is how my international career started. And what Steven just said is absolutely true also for me. He helped me a lot. He mentored me. He was my first publisher. He gave me a lot of advices. And then when Portal Games started to do their own distribution and we were no longer working with Z-Man Games as our partner for America, he still was helping me and advising, and he's so kind and nice. Yes, we could do a whole show just about Zeb.
Yeah.
He's an icon for the industry.
And just remember, the games, not only the few that I mentioned just now that were big under WizKids, he's responsible for bringing to the industry Pandemic, Agricola, Arboretum, Fairy Tale, Tales of the Arabian Nights, Shadowhunters, Clash of Cultures, Ascending Empires, Merchants and Marauders. I mean, the list of games that are so important in the hobby that he brought out is huge. He's got over 400 games published in his career. So kudos to him. I'm 100% sure that just like when he left F2Z, he had an offer. He had 3 offers, essentially what he told me. Like he had 3 offers within a week or so. So I'm sure that he's going to have the same kind of thing. And we wanted to bring this out early on because we didn't want to delay it. So this podcast might be delayed a day so that we don't step on the embargo.
Are you saying that we are delayed because of Zeb? That's not nice of you to say that.
Yeah, he's often late.
All right, so good luck, Zeb. Next article is about Steamforged and Kickstarter announcing a partnership for exclusive relationship and content collaboration. This one I thought was odd. So Steamforged has announced a new partnership with Kickstarter that makes their relationship exclusive and provides for collaboration on content. The announcement was made in conjunction with the launch of a Kickstarter campaign for Monster Hunter World Iceborne, the board game, on Thursday. The exclusive relationship specifies that Steamforged will crowdfund its next 4 projects beginning with Thursday's launch on Kickstarter, and that the companies will collaborate on educational content for emerging game creators. This is the first time Kickstarter has been involved in a partnership of this type. So I get why Kickstarter is going to get a lot of benefit out of this, right? They're guaranteed to get 4 probably big Kickstarters. They're going to get content, which is interesting, educational content for, okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, that they're going to put up stuff, but what's Steamforge's, maybe they just get some PR out of this?
There's definitely competition right now between the big crowdfunding platforms, and behind the scenes, GameFound Backer Kit and Kickstarter offering little incentives to companies to come do their crowdfunding with this one or that one. And I suspect this is another incentive from Kickstarter. Steamforged has a history of usually video IP games with gorgeous miniatures, and they do bring in a decent amount of crowdfunding and notoriety. Right now, Monster Hunter Iceborne is at 1.4 million. It's no slouch. It's doing really well. And associations between crowdfunding platforms and board game publishers are not unheard of. GameFound was created by Awaken Realms. So there's definitely a publisher crowdfunding relationship there. So this feels like a natural evolution for Kickstarter to start or to associate with somebody.
I'm excited to see that the platforms are now going to be doing things other than collecting money. I mean, let's face it. I mean, they take a lot of money out of every project, all the platforms, right? But Kickstarter probably the most. I don't know what the exact economics of GameFound is, and
but this is deeper because we saw over the last 3 years lots of creators moving from Kickstarter to GameFound because the GameFound has a better offer, and by better offer I mean they had an offer. Because Kickstarter had no offer. Like Kickstarter was just like we are the page, we are welcome. And now what we are seeing, that what is not shown in the press release, Steamforged offered 4 games, Kickstarter offered something. We don't know what offered, but for sure we are now in the situation which is very good for the business in general, that these platforms compete for creators with different offers. So I don't know what's the offer of Kickstarter, but whatever it is, I'm happy that they figured out to get the customer, you have to have offer.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. So in other words, Steamforged, maybe they're getting a discount, right? I mean, that's an easy thing, right? So instead of paying 5%, I believe that's the number on Kickstarter that you have to pay them to do a crowdfunding, and that comes right off the top, 5%. maybe they're getting a better offer like that. But certainly the content that may come out of this for new publishers, new creators, that might be worth it for everybody to see. The next one is, wow, oh boy, this is crazy. What has happened this week in the industry and the content creation side of things.
Let me just start. No comments.
And Ignacy is saying he will have no comment on this. All right, Corey and I will have to comment a little bit, but I said we're gonna tread lightly here because this is, he said, she said in a lot of levels, but it's news, and I think we need to kind of bring it out. So in brief, a publisher
Polish publisher.
I'm sorry?
Polish publisher.
These guys are Polish. Actually, I didn't know that. Yeah. Thank you. The publisher of Aeon Trespass Odyssey, not to be confused with Aeon's End. Aeon Trespass Odyssey was approached by Quackalope, which is a content creator, to do some videos with them. And they didn't respond on a fast enough way. The content creator created some videos that were not good, and then went and said, well, we'll reshoot things.
As in they spoke very badly of the product.
Yes, as in they spoke really badly of the product. But it was weird because they also spoke well in a series of videos, spent 50 hours. There's a lot of stuff to unpack here. But in the end, this is the alleged thing that's happening here is that Quackalope is being accused of blackmailing the Polish publisher, which is what's it called again, this publisher? Into the Unknown?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Into the Unknown, yes.
Yeah, so they're accused of blackmailing them and say, well, if you pay us money, like $7,500, we'll reshoot everything. And the implication is it would have been in a much nicer light way, shooting it without the negativity. All the emails apparently are out there. There's an interpretation that you can make on some of this, but it's certainly, and again, I'm not judging here, but it certainly doesn't put Quackalope in a good light at all. And I know, I mean, I've met them, I know them, so it's not really a good thing to see this, and they are a major content creator for board game videos. Corey?
I don't want to comment directly on the publisher or on Quackalope or on Fault, but one really important thing that this brings up is that whole balancing act of bias. It's been discussed for ages and ages. If you are paid to make content, must your content be positive? If you're paid by a publisher, especially to review a game, are you obligated to make a completely positive review? And just the fact of being paid, does that destroy your bias in making a video? No. That's the open topic now that I think needs a lot of discussion.
Well, and I'll comment on that. If you're paid, if it's paid content, right? I reach out to you or whoever this is. It could be the Dice Tower, it could be Rodney Smith, it could be whoever. Shut up and sit down. If I say, and they have a price list, we will do a video for you, and that video will last at least a half hour or an hour, and we're going to charge you this and put it up on a network, and it's considered a sponsored review, a sponsored preview of the game.
That's where the discussion needs to lie.
So it's not a review. It's content that you're paying for, and in that case, it has to be. You can't make negative. Now, if the content creator says, "I'm always going to review the game for anything I do, even if you pay me," well, then of course that needs to get stated early on. But everybody who goes to somebody who can do content always goes with the knowledge that if I'm paying you, you're going to create this nice thing. It's like an infomercial on TV.
Sure.
You can't have bad things on an infomercial. That's what it is.
If I'm a content creator and I've been paid to make a preview video just to show off your game, am I then obligated to not review the game later because I've been paid? Does it destroy my bias?
This is very interesting what you guys are saying, because I have completely opposite opinion, and this is super interesting. So, not talking about the whole scandal, we are talking in general. When I pay for the video, I never expected that this money means that I have to get a positive review, and this is very interesting. So I'm honestly, when, for instance, we had now this Forgal campaign this couple of weeks ago, I honestly, after we received the link for the videos from the content creators, I was checking this link, checking if they like the game. Like, I was not assuming that these videos will be positive. So maybe I'm not understanding how the industry works in this regard, because I was not doing a lot of Kickstarters, to be honest. But like, my perception is that I'm paying for creating this content, and I hope that this will be a high quality content, and I'm paying for their audience because they have a lot of people who watch this channel, but I'm not paying for the positive review. And I'm honestly was checking these Forgal videos, checking. I hope they like the. So my perception was never that I'm paying for the positive opinion. I was paying for the high quality work. So this is very interesting. Different perceptions. But once again, I did only 4 Kickstarters or 5 Kickstarters in my life, so.
That's interesting. I mean, it's interesting that you did not. If you're paying, you still would not expect.
No,
interesting.
I was literally watching this video. I was scared. What if they say that Forgal sucks? It didn't happen. But like, I was expecting high quality video, not the price. I was not paying for price. I was paying about.
I think it's a really dangerous edge. It's there is an expectation if you pay a lot of money for a video that it should be a benefit to the company. And I sort of lean towards the side where if you're making a review that you want it to be an honest review, you should not be paid for it. And I think most content creators have a paid set of services, which are not reviews and clearly labeled as a playthrough or an unboxing or a preview. And then they have an unpaid set of services, which are more, they can say whatever they want because they're free from the chains of being hired.
Very, very interesting discussion. I bet we're going to hear more of this as it unfolds. We have Catalyst Game Labs announcing a board game division. So this is interesting on a couple of levels, and let me go through it. Catalyst Game Labs has announced the formation of a dedicated board game division to oversee the development of new tabletop games. The first game to be produced under the new Catalyst board game imprint will be Overlords in Training. Catalyst board game division will oversee future game development under creative director Mike Ritchie and managing developer Randall Bills. Now, here's where this is very interesting. I know Catalyst very well. And you guys probably know because they have the BattleTech IP, a miniatures game that's been going on since like the late 1970s or something like that. Yeah. I know them well, and I got my good friend, who's Lauren Coleman, the president of Catalyst. I got him in an email, and I said, "Hey man, what? So you've been doing board games anyway? So why is this?
I'm wondering. Yeah.
So why is this different, right?" And I asked him that time, why is Catalyst starting a board game division? And he said to me, Catalyst has always published board games outside of BattleTech and Shadowrun universes, but too often they've been treated as second-tier products. That means we've buried some amazing games that didn't get a fair chance. We want to correct this, and we want to have the publishing bandwidth to increase our licensing efforts. Then I also asked him, Catalyst has been releasing board games for many years. Does this new division mean you'll be releasing more standalone games or a different focus? He says, it means the board games will command as much attention and resources in the company as our large brands. Fans will see more standalone games, small and large, as well as more IP-related games. And then I said, hey, how about BattleTech? Is it going to affect the BattleTech, which is your bread and butter? He goes, not at all. We've made a few strategic hires and moved some resources around to accommodate, but this will not get in the way of BattleTech or Shadowrun. So doing my investigative reporting, which you guys know that I love. I have so many contacts out there. I wanted to reach out to them to discuss. Good luck to Catalyst Games. Some of their stuff has flown under the radar, I think, as well. So maybe with this, people who like board games we'll like to look at them now as a new place for board games, not just Shadowrun and their BattleTech big ones.
Awesome. I was wondering exactly the same question. So thank you.
Very
I
cool.
have another question.
Yes.
Which segment of this podcast today we need to kill, because we talked so long that we will have to kill one of the segments, which is either fans' questions or our question to fans.
We have one more thing because it's very okay. We'll talk about that in
Always
1 second.
watching the time.
He's watching the time. He didn't put next week, but we do have to do this because it's timely. The Spiel des Jahres 2023 nominees have been announced. And so, of course, we always have the Spiel des Jahres and the Kenner Spiel des Jahres, which is the gamers games, connoisseur games or something like that. So for the Spiel des Jahres, the family weight games, we have the amazingly easy to pronounce
Dorfromantik. It's a video game adaptation. It's such a cool game.
Fun Facts and Next Station London are the nominees. And what are the ones for the Kenner Spiel des Jahres?
For the Kenner Spiel, we have Challengers, E-Key, and Planet Unknown.
Okay, that one I know. So any comments about this group of titles?
It's a really weird group of titles. Dorfromantik, I think, is kind of the shoe-in. It is the very German publisher, simple tile-laying game. It's fun. It's got a little bit of a legacy element. Hits all the buttons.
So you've played all of these games?
Yeah.
How have you played these games?
I'm sorry?
How did you get a chance to play these games?
They've been out for a while.
He wakes up at 6:30.
I'm actually playing games now as we talk. You see it just off camera. I have to constantly play games.
That's pretty funny.
Fun Facts is an interesting one. That's the third edition in Repost's line of party games after So Clover and Just One. And then I really had issue with the Kenner Spiel. Some of these are Kenner Spiel material, but Challengers, I think, is a very fun game, but it's a very light game. It feels more like a Spiel nominee than a Kenner Spiel. E-Key has been out in the US for quite a while, and the expansion to E-Key is about to release, called Akibono. Fantastic, and it's a second edition too. E-Key is an older game, so what you're seeing on all the announcements of E-Key is actually a second edition of the game. Planet Unknown, I am really excited about. That's the one game in this list that I think is just exciting as anything. It's an independent group, Adam's Apple Games. This is their game, and it's so fun. It's such an amazing polyomino tile-laying game. It's my personal pick for the Kenner Spiel.
So this is why we hired you for this, because you play too many games. It's perfect. Thank you so much for that rundown. That's awesome. So
I thought I got hired for the money.
The money here is huge. So let's go to strategy and tactics. Ignacy, one question, because we also have to talk about our contest, and we have something new to talk about within the contest. So one question we'll take.
I want to make a comment.
Yes.
Because it's like Corey. Is this phrase in English, throw somebody a softball?
Because what was the phrase?
Throwing somebody a softball. I saw, throwing a softball pitch.
Corey. Yes, so Corey did it because he was complaining on the selection on Spiel des Jahres, which gives me a great opportunity to comment on selection on Origins Awards from Gamma. And I don't know if you already covered this.
I have not. No, we didn't cover the Origins Awards. They're pretty small.
Turing Machine as a card game.
Yeah,
they're putting Turing Machine as a card game.
There are so many odd category mismatches in the Origins Awards. Yeah.
That was just my very short comment.
It's shuffling those cards with the little holes. That's what gives me trouble.
Yeah.
What?
Could be a deck builder.
All right. I'm not, we'll have to cover that next time. Let's get to strategy and tactics. So here in strategy and tactics, we have a contest running, guys. Remember this. Post up to 3 questions in the guild in the correct forum to get an entry into the contest. 3 questions, most in 3 different entries. And I will watch you and find out if you don't. I'm going to disqualify all your entries if you put 4 or more. And we are giving away prizes to people around the world, stuff from Portal Games, stuff from The Podfather, my merchandise, stuff from Corey, his merchandise. And guess what? Mark Spector of the Grand Gamers Guild reached out because he's a listener, loves the show. He's a good friend, and he's a lovely guy. And he said, I would love to do this, and I'm going to send 7 games, they're all micro games, to someone in the US and someone elsewhere, just like we're doing for all of our stuff. He's got this line of games. Let me just read what he asked me to say. Sponsored as
holiday
well.
hijinks?
Yeah, sponsors of the Grand Gamers Guild, publishers of the hit games Endeavor, Artemis, and Holiday Hijinks game lines, and many other titles like Gorinko, La Familia Hort. Grand Gamers Guild will give away 2 complete Holiday Hijinks prize packages of all 7 titles, including the newest adventure, The Turkey Trial. So there are these little things all around the holidays, U.S. holidays, I guess, and you get to play them. And they play in like, there are 18 cards, but it's like a little adventure kind of thing. Solve the puzzle. 30 minutes, sometimes up to 2 hours, these little 18 cards playing. So very, very cool. Thank you, Mark, for doing that. That gives us 8 prizes. So you can put some questions in there, guys. Go ahead.
I'd like to thank, obviously, for this sponsoring. And I want to double check because Steven was writing rules for this contest. In these rules, there is no mention that Ignacy cannot take part in this contest. So now if you have a sponsor of the games, can I ask a question on Board Game Geek Forum?
No.
I'll send you a t-shirt.
All
you
members.
Can have a Corey t-shirt.
You know what? I'm just going to buy you a Podfather t-shirt so you can wear it. I'll just give it to you. Also, you can have one of my t-shirts.
No, buy me a t-shirt so I don't ask any questions.
Yes.
You want to silence me?
All members of this podcast, the production team, sorry, Joshua, may not participate, but everybody else out there in the world, no members of Portal Games, Podfather, Paula can't participate. Corey, his fake wife, can't participate. So that's a whole nother joke that we haven't told people about. Anyway, one question today, and we're running out of them. This question came from January of this year. As I said, we're running out. And this is an Ignacy question. I saved it for you, Ignacy. Good old Vitruvian gamer Kurt Van Hoyveld asks, after getting hold of the Dune and then the Batman IP for the detective system, followed by the Thorgal one for its own standalone game, is it easier as a publisher to sign a contract with other IP owners when they see that Portal Games already did a couple of them? They have already done a couple. So, hey, could we see a Lord of the Rings game? Could we see a Star Wars game in your catalog? I don't know, whatever. Is it easier now to get IP games because you have some in your catalog?
I'm sorry to disappoint Kurt, because my answer will be so obvious. Yes, it is so much easier. Obviously, they're opening the door for the first time and getting this first license for Dune opens the doors a lot wider at the very beginning. And now the Thorgal is a perfect example. Like with the Thorgal, we were already negotiating, showing that we did a Dune, we are doing a Batman, we know this how to do such a games, and that's why we nailed Thorgal. After the contract with Thorgal, we had already some companies who own some interesting IPs reaching us, which was not the case 5 years ago or 3 years ago. So now we are put on the map of the companies who can do an IP game. So yes, obviously this is so much easier to go to these business meetings, to go to these presentations, to present these boring PowerPoint slides with what we achieved as a company, what games we produce, and how they were received. So once again, sorry, Kurt, because this is not very interesting answer. Yes, you are right. It is so much easier right now to negotiate.
I thought it was an interesting answer, but I guess it also just brings around the point that since you know how the structure of any IP licensing is going to be, you know the structure now, right? I mean, before I didn't do any IP licensing, so I don't exactly know how you structure the deal. After you have the first one, you know.
We mentioned this in many times in the podcast back then, in many years ago. With each contract, you learn all the traps. So each contract that I was signing was a little bit different. There were some points in the contract that I was fighting or negotiating harder because I already knew that these are like crucial points. So each of these 3 contracts is different, but not just because they are different companies or different games, but putting accent on some of the things that are important for me as a publisher to protect what is important for us as a board game publisher. So definitely I know so much more today about working with the IPs than this 3 or 4 years ago. That is absolutely true.
Cool, cool. And now let's get over to playtesting. Corey, last week you had the question, so why don't you read it, and then we'll go through some of the cool answers we got.
So we had been talking enough about awards and impact that awards might have. So the question was, what single fact about a new game would make you purchase or pre-order the title without any other material knowledge? Is it the designer, the publisher, the artist, the IP, the cover art? What single fact would make you just buy it sight unseen?
As usual, some differences of opinion on what would do that. Kurt Langenbach, he says, I don't feel quite like a single fact about a game is going to make him do this. He said price is close, but he would also combine that with publisher and designer. Otherwise, I buy my games much like the Sith. I always need 2 absolute facts, like IP plus rulebook, publisher plus designer, cover art plus price. Interesting way of putting it. Eric Langenbach of the Sith.
And just in general, I'm seeing a whole bunch of responses here. If there is a single element, it's usually designer. But I'm pleasantly surprised by the scattering of other things of theming, of even publisher popping up. So Paul Merchbunks said yes to all the above, and some examples. Orion Burger Canal. I bought this game pretty much solely because of the designer and the player count. I can play solo, and I love Uva's games. The artwork was a smoking factory, and the theme quite dry, but I backed it happily. And then Scooby-Doo board game, theme and art was super cute, and that's what sold it. And then Magic Mountain, played it solely because it was nominated for a Kinderspiel, and bought it immediately after the first play. My daughter loves it. So a little bit of all the angles there.
Yeah, I want to remind you about the thing that happened many years ago. Stonemaier Games put on Board Game Geek the cover for Sight. It's nothing else were needed. All the Board Game Geek just got crazy, and then we had this epic Kickstarter, one of the biggest back then. So sometimes it's just a cover that people just get crazy, insane, and just clicking the game because of how it looks. For me, obviously it will be the designer. Like if there's a new Bruno Catala game, if there's a new Eric Lange game, it's in my basket. That's obvious. With the publisher, it's interesting because on one hand, I have a trust in many publishers. For instance, GMT. I have never played a bad game from GMT. I love this company, but because they have a so wide range of the titles, and sometimes they are historical games, sometimes science fiction games, sometimes about the ancient Rome, sometimes about the Second War. So obviously, just GMT will not be enough for me because maybe I already have 10 games about Second World War, and I need now something about the Rome. So publisher, yes, I trust publishers, but still, because we as a publishers release so many different games, I don't think that I will buy immediately every game from the particular publisher. For the artist, I once had this moment in my life when I was buying all games illustrated by Vincent Dutroux. New game from artwork Vincent Dutroux in my collection. But then after having like 15 games with his artwork, I said, okay, enough. So yeah, my answer would be designer, but it is also a cover in our industry, in our hobby. Cover is super important for many people.
Designer came up like the most, as you both are kind of implying there. Carl Chuddick for Christian K says, if the designer is Carl Chuddick, I'm ready to divorce my wallet.
I'm the same with Chuddick games. Every strange Chuddick game I hear about, I buy immediately.
It's and our good friend Marion, who did our our stores. She mentioned Beth Sobel artwork as being a thing she's always going to buy. But then she said other designers I strongly consider buying only based on their name and the title because, of course, you know the title. Phil Walker Harding, Daniel Solis, and who's this guy? Stephen Bonacore. So those are the designers that she will buy.
I think that's a
came
typo because as far as I know, Stephen Bonacore hasn't designed any games.
He's got one potentially coming out.
Does he?
He does. Potentially with a certain large company. We'll see. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for those answers. What do we have now for next week? And that was, I guess it's my question here. We talked about the Spiel des Jahres nominees. And we're going to riff on this and the fact that I was like, what are these titles? And my question to you is, have you heard of any of the Spiel des Jahres nominees from this year? Regardless, are you excited about any of them? Will you go do research on them now that we've reported on them?
I just want to say that today, the Board Game Geek hotness list, which is just a ranking of what games have been clicked on the most, are all of the nominees.
Well, yeah.
So 1 through 6 of the hotness list is the nominees.
Well, but you got to remember, there's a reason for that, right? I mean,
that will be showing that people were not knowing these games and they are checking these games. So it looks like most of the Board Game Geek is what the hell is Iki? What the hell is Fun Facts? Like they are just checking these games.
Thank you, Ignacy. That was a genius answer right there. That's why Ignacy is a genius. And Corey's a tag along here. So no, but
thank you.
So I think we've kind of answered this already.
Tag-alongs are delicious cookies.
They are. I think we've answered this. Corey knew all the games and played most of them, if not all of them. I knew of one and hadn't played it, but I've heard great things about Planet Unknown. And Ignacy, same as my answer. Is that right?
No. I knew Dorf Romantic, and my wife played a lot of video game. Fun Facts was released in Poland a couple of weeks ago, so I haven't chance yet to play it, but I saw it in the stores. Challengers was a huge hype during the Essen, so I did a lot of research about this game, but it looked like too easy for me, like a super random, but fun, but super random. And Planet Unknown, I'm a proud publisher for Polish edition. I strongly recommend all our listeners to grab their copy in their own language. It's a brilliant, brilliant game, Planet Unknown, superb.
And I'm putting a follow-up question in here.
It's Pegasus.
Oh, did they already announce it? Oh,
yeah.
Darn. My follow-up question is who's going to publish Dorf Romantic for the English market, and what are they going to call it?
I think it's out, and it's called the same thing because it's based on a video game called Dorf Romantic.
Ridiculous.
And it has a huge fan base in the US as well.
Oh, okay. All right.
Well, the German edition at Essen. I actually like it quite a bit.
Should have a subtitle, but anyway, okay. So we ask all of you out there, please answer the question for this playtesting question. Have you heard of any of these nominees? Regardless, are you excited about them? And will you go research them now that we've reported on them? And while you're at it, go ahead and talk about the Kenner Spiel des Jahres ones as well. Ignacy right now is going to create a thread for you to go and do these answers back to us, putting that on our Guild on Board Game Geek. Please go answer there. As he's doing that, I'll go to the final scoring. Thank you so much for listening. Help us spread the word about this podcast by telling your friends to download Board Games Insider wherever they like to get their podcasts, or you can now watch Board Games Insider on the Podfather of Gaming YouTube channel. Do you want to be part of the podcast? You can. Just ask us questions for our strategy and tactics segment by posting them in the correct thread in our Guild on Board Game Geek, and you'll be joining our contest by doing so, and also answer our question to you in the playtest from the playtesting segment by going to a thread on the Guild on Board Game Geek. Check out our websites, portalgamesus.com, podfathergaming.com, and dicetowerdish.com. We're all over social media. Interact with us, please, /BoardGamesInsider, /PortalGamesUS, /PodfatherGaming. And you can speak directly to Ignacy, Stephen, and Corey. Twitter and Instagram, it's @PortalGamesUS, @PodfatherGaming, @DicetowerDish, @DicetowerNow, and the active YouTube channels, Portal Games Movies, The Podfather of Gaming, and Aboveboard TV. And on TikTok, Ignacy, Portal Games US. We'd love to see you. Go see Corey at KublaCon. Come see Ignacy and Stephen at the UKGE. Going to be fun. Board Games Insider, professionally edited by Matthew. I'm sorry. by Joshua Bowman. I should probably like read what I'm saying here. It's almost second nature.
Years.
Joshua Bowman from Tabletop Submarine Podcast. If you want him to edit yours, reach him at tabletopsubmarine@gmail.com. And that great voice you hear doing the intro, outro, and in-between segments is that of Ray Greenlee. He can be contacted to do voiceover work at raygreenleevoiceover.com. Any special news? Anything you want to guys announce before we close out the show?
I would say for our fans who are attending UK Game Expo, please follow Ignacy and Steven on Twitter, because if at some point we come up with this idea for a meetup with our listeners, if we come up with this idea for meeting our fans, we will be tweeting about it and we'll be showing location where we are and waiting for you. So if you want to meet us, the almost direct contact with us is our Twitter.
Absolutely. I try to be on top of that all the time, and especially when I'm at a convention, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to also have, do some coverage there, because again, my first time, I'll have a camera and I'll do some coverage of the craziness and things. And Ignacy and I have a secret meeting that is, it's a secret meeting. I can't tell you what it's about. We've created a secret meeting.
And most likely we will record the episode live from the UK Max as well. So fun time.
And a secret meeting.
A lot of secret meetings.
Goodbye, everybody. See you next time.
See y'all later.